Have you been struggling with your finances? Maybe you've been ignoring them completely, and now you find yourself up to your neck in debt with no savings. You're worried that it's getting too late to gain control over your finances and secure your future. If this sounds familiar, don't worry. This video will show you a step-by-step blueprint to achieve financial independence and early retirement, regardless of your income level or age. After all, what's better than having an abundant amount of money saved and being financially secure for life? According to the Schroders 2023 U.S. Retirement Survey, working Americans aged 45 and older expect they will need about $1.1 million in savings in order to retire, but only 21% of people in that age group expect to have even $1 million.
And actually, I was in a position where when I left New York and came back to Omaha, I had about $175,000 and I was retired. So I guess they figured if I was retired at 26, I must be doing something right. And they gave me their money.
Follow the 5-step plan to ensure that you can reach $1 million on the day you retire, or even sooner. While it's not easy, this plan has been proven to work every time. Number 1. Create a financial foundation. A foundation is key to mastering pretty much everything in life. For example, if you want to become the best baseball player, then having a solid foundation by mastering the basics is what'll get you there. It's no different in finance. If you want to grow your wealth, then you need to have a solid grasp on the basics by building a solid financial base. And this starts by putting money into savings and getting rid of high-interest debt. Before you do anything else, you need to save a couple $1,000s into your savings as soon as possible. This isn't money that goes into an investment account, but specifically into a savings account that you can easily access for emergencies. Saving money during inflation may also seem counterintuitive, but there's one thing to remember. Saving is not how you get wealthy. In fact, there are only 3 reasons you should be saving money. Firstly, for financial emergencies. Secondly, for investments. And thirdly, to buy bigger and more expensive things. If what you're looking to save for doesn't fall into one of these 3 categories, then it's not something worth saving for. Typically, you'll want to save 3 to 6 months worth, but you can easily push this number up to 9 months and even 12 if you're a very anxious person. However, anything past 12 months becomes a waste as inflation eats your money. Once you've saved that up, focus on paying down your high-interest debts as fast as possible. Debts that fall into high interest are credit cards, 0% interest rate loans now charging you 15% plus because of late payments, and payday loans. These are all eating your money extremely quickly. Typically, most debt that's over 10% is now considered high interest, but for most people, it'll likely be credit card debt. The reason why you want to focus on tackling this debt first before investing is that it's pointless to try and grow your money at 9% returns every year, but you have to pay 15% interest on your credit card. You end up losing.
If I owed any money at 18%, the first thing I'd do with any money I had would be to pay it off. It's going to be way better than any investment idea I've got.
There's one simple thing that you can do to help you gather cash fast in order to pay off some of these debts. Go over to your home and sell things that no longer serve you. The older you are, the more you've likely collected, meaning the more you can sell for money. The next thing you can do is downsize. Firstly, look at your car. If you're driving an Audi, then switch to a cheaper Honda. It'll save you a lot of money, which can be used to pay off your debts. You can also downsize your home if you find yourself struggling with payments. You can even go as far as to rent and focus on home ownership when you're feeling more financially stable. While home ownership is a great way to build wealth, it's not the only way, and especially not if it's causing you to fall into financial ruin. The last thing you can do is negotiate bills. Negotiation isn't common in America, but you can use it to your advantage. Pretty much any bill can be negotiated, but don't forget to use leverage like competitors' better offer to help lower your current prices. As a final tip, be nice to the service sales reps as they're much more likely to help you in your wallet if you're nice. Number 2, lend your money. You need to create a plan for your money through your savings, investments, and spending. Every dollar you spend should have a job. Otherwise, you risk losing those dollars to unnecessary things like items you don't need. Some people may say they're already set because they invest in a 401k and have a match from their employer. But the sad reality is that it's not enough to retire. In fact, the inventor of the 401k even says it's not enough. It was never actually intended to be the only source of income for your retirement. At this point, you might be wondering what you need to do to lend your money into growth.
5% of the people set goals, and 5% are inordinately more successful in their lives.
As Dave Ramsey says here, a plan is what will allow you to succeed. More specifically, you need to create a financial system that is automated. This means automating your investments, your savings, and having money aside to pay for all your expenses. Fortunately, automation is pretty easy because it's usually free to transfer money within or to other accounts. Another important note is that you should have 3 separate accounts. Keep watching to find out why. A great start to figuring out how to save your money is to use the 75-15-10. That's 75% of your income goes to expenses, 15% goes to investment, and 10% goes into savings. Now, for the 10%, this should only be put into your savings account until you hit your 3 to 6 months emergency fund. Once that's done, you want to put the 10% into your investment number. The reason you want to have these 3 categories in separate accounts is that it avoids you tapping into money for a different reason. For example, you may accidentally spend your savings money if you don't have them separated. The next question is how to invest right away. There are 3 ways you can do this: companies, physical real estate, or commodities.
Well, I would say most of the big food companies are good businesses in that they earn good returns on tangible assets.
Companies. This is by far the most common and well understood way to invest your money. When you put it into a 401k or IRA, it usually goes into ETFs, companies, or funds. However, you can also invest in private companies or even your own company if you desire. If you want to take your hand into investing, then getting a low index fund is probably your best avenue. The most reliable and simple method is dollar cost averaging, where you regularly put money into the stock market through a low-cost index fund. Some common and very good ETFs are VOO, IVV, or SPY.
Run it for you, and I pointed out that if you'd put $10,000 in an index fund that reinvested dividends, and I paused for a moment to let the audience try and guess how much it amount to, and it would come to $51 million now.
Through these ETFs, you can take advantage of the major benefits the stock market has to offer without knowing anything at all about investing, since these ETFs are a composition of the 500 best performing companies. Then you can consider learning about investing in stocks. For those who are more risk tolerant, you can consider using crowdfunding to invest in startups. It's risky because you may never see the money you put in, but the benefit is huge potential returns. Lastly, if you do have a solid business model, you can invest in yourself to start a business. If it's something you love to do and you're sure it'll work out, then you can't really go wrong.
I think you're out of your mind if you keep taking jobs that you don't like because you think it'll look good on your resume.
Real estate. Real estate is great because it's physical and gives cash flow. So when you get a property and the tenant moves in, you can already see the cash coming in. The other great part is that you get passive income through appreciating the value on the home you own. This means that you are always getting more than you initially paid for as time goes on. The problem is that housing costs a lot, so you need to have a substantial amount of cash before you can consider this option. Commodities. Gold and silver are safe haven investments, and owning physical gold and silver are great ways to protect against a weak dollar. It's not so much an investment type, but a savings. For example, as inflation goes up, so does gold and silver, making it a great way to have cash without being affected by inflation. Bitcoin is also considered a commodity, but because of its speculative nature and volatility, take it with a grain of salt. Number 3. Stop spending your money on unnecessary things. Recently, buy now, pay later models are popular because of how simple and useful it is to most people. Who wants to pay when they don't have to pay right now? The problem comes when you forget to pay and are slapped with a 15 to 25% interest rate on the item that you bought that you thought was charged at 0%. This is a huge benefit to the banks and companies, but not to you.
Every time I got ready to spend, I would ask myself, if I had to not spend this money so that I had the money to save the life of my child, could I do it? Could I find the discipline? And that was an easy answer, of course.
When it comes to items, assets are what give back and liabilities are what take. In other words, assets are what leads you to wealth and liabilities are things that take it away, meaning don't finance it. A good rule to follow is the rule of 5. If you can't buy 5, then you can't afford 1. For example, you may have a car that you finance, but it costs you every month. However, it's a depreciating item, so you lose money every day you drive it. Instead of paying for this $40,000 car with an $8,000 closing payment, use that money to buy a used car and have the leftover $32,000 in interest you would have to pay to invest and grow your wealth to the point where you can easily afford a $40,000 car in the future. Number 4. Earn more money. The answer that most people give when asked what you would need to do to fix your financial situation is more money. Funnily enough, it's true, but only if you know how to use your money.
The biggest financial asset that you have going for you by miles is the value of your own earning power over the years. So that's really what you should focus on. If you're focusing on your financial future, that means you should focus on you.
For instance, most people who fall into a lump sum of money from the lottery or inheritance easily blow it all in a few years, simply because they have no idea what to do with it. They spend like they're millionaires, but can't afford the lifestyle when the money disappears. This also happens on a smaller scale with raises, when the dreaded lifestyle creep pops up. Namely, as you make more money, you spend more on your lifestyle. The whole point of following the first 3 steps before this is that now you have the tools and a pathway to channel your money for it to constantly grow, as opposed to blowing it all. Now, you can think about getting a side hustle or another job to grow your wealth. However, it's important to note that you don't want to focus on how you can save, but on how you can grow your money. It's not about how I can save $5,000 more with my current income, but how can I make my current income 5 times bigger than it is now. Number 5. Plan. If you want to be great and wealthy, you need a plan. You don't just need a plan for how to get to where you want to be, but you also need a plan for hiccups on the road. A great way to start this is life insurance. The truth is that you never know when you're going to go. So having the right tools to make sure that your money goes exactly where you want it to when you're no longer around is key.
We all need a good financial planning, clear path. A clear path to go from wherever I am to wealthy. That's financial planning.
Sadly, as you become more wealthy, people will want to take a share of it whether they deserve it or not. So you need to have protections in place. Life insurance is a good start, but another thing you'll need is a will. This is the main way for your money and possessions to be placed in the right hands. Lastly, make sure that people around you are supportive and not malicious. This means your attorneys and accountants should not be money hungry, but willing to give you the best service in your interest. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one.